Hello, and a very warm welcome to another session of the Change Exchange, where my guest today is a creator of beautiful things, Gert Johan Coetzee.
Hello.
He dresses people like you wouldn't believe, starting with one of the Kardashians, Courtney.
Yes.
And give me another few famous names.
We've been so blessed. We've worked with Christian Calavari, we've worked with Kelly Rowland, Lupita. We've worked with really like the A-list of Hollywood. I just love how my life has kind of fallen, that part of my life has kind of fallen into place because it's always been such a big dream.
And locally?
Locally, we have the honors of working with Bona Mateba, Minnie Dlamini, Lyra, so really iconic women, Thuli Madonsela, and that is what I thrive for, is to work with really powerful women that inspire change.
But you were born in Koster. Koster, for those of you who do not know, is this big, and it's kind of that side of Magaliesberg. It's deep platteland.
Yeah.
But at age about 6, you said to your mother you're going to be a famous designer.
I always wanted to be a famous designer. We grew up in Koster on a farm, eventually moved to the town, which is quite small. It's like one street. Where all the shops are, and then there's all the houses. So that was nice. To grow up almost a little bit more protected than I think you would in the city. That was the advantage of that. And then I left school to start homeschooling.
Sorry, but how did you know that there was such a thing as a fashion designer?
I didn't know what it was. I first thought it was a seamstress. I wanted to make wedding dresses. That's what I wanted to do. And then through the years past, I was like, wow, there's this whole fashion world and people do this for a living and they are called fashion designers. And that is when I told my mom, I'm going to be one of those guys and a famous one. I just don't want to be a normal one. I'll be the biggest one in the world.
The homeschooling, how did that happen?
That is just because of all the curricular activities. I hope that's a proper English. I was doing sewing classes, doing dance classes, doing all these things, and it kind of like mixed in with my school time. So we decided, let me do things on my own pace. So we started homeschooling. It was great because you could literally do all your work. By 10 o'clock you were done, and I could start sewing. By the time I was about 15, 14, I already had a little sewing business, doing matric-dance dresses for girls in Koster and for small clients, friends, parents, and things like that.
How did your parents react? Because this is not an average Afrikaans guy, especially almost 30 years ago.
Yeah, I always had a knack for this. So at school, my pencils was my first model. So I used to dress in little tissue paper gowns, and then at home, my sister's dolls was my victims. I think at some point when I was about 6, my parents realized if they're not going to buy me a sewing machine and some fabric, I'm going to cut up a curtain. and that is when they sent me to a fabric shop to go and buy fabric. So they've always kind of like supported this because it was so unusual. They wanted to kind of see what happens, so like a little experiment. Let's give it fabric and see where it's going. So by the time I was 16, I felt that I was wasting my time in school because I was then already running a business. At that point, I've won every competition that I could for my age, and even like till matric level. So it was clear that I was going to be a fashion designer, and I dropped out of school and went to knock at Northwest School of Design in Klerksdorp and asked them will they take me with only standard 8, and they said let's try this, and that's where it started.
And could they teach you something?
They taught me everything that I know. I mean, at first they said I have to pass this test and I have to get 80% on this test, and then they would take me. So I passed that test. And
what did the test entail?
It was just basically a creative test and a mental test to see if mentally I would be able to keep up with 18-year-olds. And they really supported me and really polished me into what I am today.
And then at, 17 years old, you caught the eye of Sandy Ngema and you dressed her for the July that year. What was it like to see your designs on television for the first time?
Yeah, that was a real mind blow because meeting Sandy, I met her at a competition that I won. Was called the Bukani Awards, and the award is prestigious and known to launch designers into the industry. So I won that, and it did so good for me. But at the award, then I met Sandy, and Sandy then said she needed a designer for Strictly Come Dancing. I should pitch to the SABC. I did, and she phoned me and said, "You got the job, Gert," and that really changed it.
At the ripe old age of 17.
I was about 19 then, so it was a process. It doesn't happen overnight. And then, as I started dressing Sandy, the media almost like made her the it girl, and they really started focusing on her and why she was looking so different. I must say, Sandy is such a beautiful woman. She pulls clothes off so well, so I think that had a lot to do with it, and it gave me a lot of media attention and slowly grew me into a fashion designer, a known fashion designer.
But as I say, can you remember the first time that you saw a design of yours on national television?
How that went is that I was at Strictly every night, and I would wait until the show goes live, because it was a live show, and then I'll text everybody like, she's wearing the dress, she's wearing the dress. and I first wait for it to go live, for it to be true. But it's an experience that you can't explain. It's your dreams are coming true. It's like when you see something that you've wanted for so long happen, and it happens to you. You can't describe that experience. But I guess I love days like that, so I always strive to have those amazing eureka days where you do something new that you've always wanted to do.
And you started a business with, who was your partner?
Uyanda Mbuli.
Yes, Uyanda Mbuli, Diamond Face Couture.
Yeah.
Did you know already then, but it sounds as if you did, that fashion is a business and that you would also have to be a businessman? You can't just do the creative stuff.
To be honest, I didn't know by then that how important the business stuff was. For me, I just wanted to be a known designer. We were into Diamond Face Couture. I just loved how everything that I made was seen everywhere. It was not just showing my parents anymore. It was the whole country saw it, and that was quite a kick for me. And in the beginning, that is kind of the payment that I got out of it, was that job satisfaction, and it was great. Uyanda taught me a lot. I learned a lot from her. It was sad when we closed the business, but it was a good thing for me.
Why did that come to an end?
I think the first business lesson I learned was the only ship that doesn't sail is a partnership, and it's tricky. Two very creative people working together, and I was so young. I was about 21, 20 then, and it was just really so much happening. I think it is, you're not just running a business and making clothes, you're also dealing with the media, and you don't understand really the whole concept of what this is. You just think that's the way life is. So it was difficult for me, and it was sad when it closed, but it launched Gert Johan Coetzee, and that was great. But that was such a hard but a good lesson that I learned.
But to start Gert Johan Coetzee Propriety Limited at 22, was it easier because you were so young and you, in a certain sense, didn't have so much to lose?
See, I had how this started was I had staff to pay. I had like 6 staff to pay, and I had no money. I had 400 rand, and I had fabric at least at the studio. So I was like really rock bottom. It's like, guys, let's start making stuff. And the staff was so great, and they really supportive, and we all just started making stuff, and they started selling. So as soon as I started making stuff and putting it out there, I got through the first week and the second week and the third week, and we kind of grew it together like that. I stole some of that staff that worked for me. They're still with me today, and what is nice is they see how easy life is today, but some of them is there to tell the story to the new staff that we didn't magically have this little sweatshop that makes these beautiful clothes. That was the sweatshop. So it was a very great growth. It happened very gradually.
How did you do the marketing originally? Because that's the big thing. You can make beautiful things, but if there's no one buying it...
I've always been lucky that media was interested in what I make. So they always wanted to see it. Celebrities always wanted to wear it. They liked my design style, which is ironic because when I started fashion, I wanted to dress Afrikaans stars, because that is what I knew. I wanted to dress all the South African singers, but they never thought my stuff was beautiful. So here I am in an English, more like an African industry, and they finally think my stuff is beautiful. And
why? What do you do that doesn't really gel with the Afrikaans background?
I don't know what it is.
Is it too flamboyant?
I think my stuff is perhaps too simple, because I have a very simple but dramatic design style. It's like a whole mix, that yin and yang of design. I always say the first lesson of designers don't really underplay it, and I think that is what I liked. I think people didn't understand why I didn't want to put feathers here and there.
And the partnerships, both in the beginning as business partners, but also with your clients, with Black African women, and you're a young Afrikaans white kid.
I think that's also what made this story strange, is that was the relationship, that I'm Afrikaans and white Afrikaans, and my clientele is black diamonds. So that I think in its own was a story to tell. But I've been blessed that from day one I have just the right type of things have happened for the right people to wear the clothes, to get maximum exposure, for people to see what I can do. And I mean, dressing a Kardashian didn't hurt.
Sure. But I want to go back. You now make it sound very easy. But that interaction between you and Sandy Ngema, for example, when you were still much younger, your English was probably not as good as it is now. How did that relationship work?
See, Sandy was a real fashionista, and she really knew what she wanted. So it was, I remember I had to go to her house to fit her there, and it was a constant driving from, when I met Sandy for the first time, I was still based in Klerksdorp, so constantly driving in. But Sandy called me her little Versace, so she was the biggest mouthpiece you can find. And I find that is when people listen, because Sandy is such an influential woman, and people really respect her opinion of things. If she says, the next Versace, people are going to believe her. So I think her endorsement of me really helped.
It must have been amazing when she said that for the first time to you.
Yes, and the great thing is she never said it to me. She told other people, so it kind of got to me that way. And I think that's sometimes the biggest compliment, if somebody says something great about you behind your back. That is like,
Yes.
That's the best compliment.
How did the Kardashian link, or was there something before that in Hollywood?
No, so the Kardashians was coming. A Brutal Fruit, the alcohol brought them over, and I heard that they were here, and then somebody phoned me and said, listen, the Kardashians here, why don't you make them a dress? I'll give it to them, I'm going to have dinner with them. And I made them a dress, they took it out of the box and they kind of held it and they left with it. When afterwards I heard that Kim's dress was a little bit too small, so she gave it to Courtney, and then Courtney wore it to the People's Choice Awards, and that was the day before fiber optics and fast internet. So I was on Twitter, and I got a tweet the morning. I remember it was about 4 o'clock in the morning, and somebody said, Gert, I think Courtney's wearing your dress at the People's Choice Award. And I hit the image and it loaded so slow. And eventually, when I saw it about here, I just screamed and woke up the whole house, and we all celebrated. It was such a great day. And I remember that day was such a whirlwind of interviews and media, because I don't think anybody has ever done anything like that at that point. And the Kardashians were so popular. And that night at the People's Choice Award, they just won the award for, I think, most popular like series or something. So it was a great night. It's like everything coming together at one point. And I think that is kind of my story and my luck. I'm an extremely lucky person. I really believe I am, because there's this way in my life how not just one good thing happens, but it's like a unfolding of events that kind of all come down to one moment, and then that moment explodes. And I've had that a couple of times in my life where it really just will help you when you need it the most.
But I also have this philosophy that if you close your hand like that, you can hold very little.
Yes.
If the hand is open, you can hold a lot.
That's
and
so beautiful.
You can accept more.
That's true. That is so beautiful. Yeah. And
that you are open to whatever happens, yes, and whoever crosses your path.
See, my motto is that opportunities present themselves every day. You just have to want to see them and then grab them. Because many times people don't want to see opportunities because it looks like work.
Or they're afraid of change.
They're afraid of change. That is
this program is focused on change, and it sounds as if you're ready for whatever.
Yeah. And the funny thing about change is it's going to happen whether you're ready for it or not. It's amazing sometimes if you look at friends and family and people in the media, they would be going towards one thing forever, and then all of a sudden it will get ripped from them, and life goes in such a better direction. But that initial change is sometimes not as easy, and it's scary.
Yes, and wrenching. Yeah. And you made another decision, and that is to use your work for a social good. And the first thing you did was to partner with Tandu Hoppa, a woman who has albinism.
Yes.
How did that decision come about?
So it came across. I was doing a collection and it just wouldn't come together. I needed like something for it, and I was walking at Koster shopping center, and I remember it like seeing this angel pass me. It was like a beam of light, and I looked around, and actually I was with my parents. I was like, just one moment, and I ran after, and she's like, I didn't model. I get asked often, and I don't do this. I was like, please go Google me. I promise you, I'm legit. And about 3 days later, she texted me and said, I'm in. And then at that time,
didn't she do any modeling until then?
She's a prosecutor. She's a very serious prosecutor, so she didn't want to do any of that. And then
why did she agree?
She said she felt that I was different than the other people and that we could do something together. And at our first shoot, I call it a test shoot, it was just basically at the studio with a little Mick and Dirk, and we just wanted to see if she can relate on camera, and getting to know Tando and hearing her struggles growing up and how she wished she had a role model like herself inspired me. And I was like, wow, I need to use this platform to do better. And I was off to Canada to go show my collection there. And I remember coming out on the ramp and seeing all the media. And I was like, it is such a waste that we're using all this power just to sell clothes. We should use it for something else as well. And came back to South Africa and built my whole campaign around Tando and raising awareness for albinism. Because around Africa, there's so many multi-murders. And not only that, is that people don't know what beauty is. And it's really, I love how the fashion industry is now challenging what beauty is, and back then it was a hard decision to use a different model for a campaign, but it worked out well, and we saw the reaction and what it had. And then the next year we tried to raise awareness for HIV, because I felt that people kind of forget what the little red ribbon stands for. It doesn't register anymore. So I almost redesigned the virus and really looked at it through a microscope, and I printed what I saw onto clothes, so that when people wear the clothes, that it's a conversation piece.
What year was this? When are we?
This was about 2013-14,
okay,
where I did that collection. That was one of my favorites.
There was really a kind of AIDS fatigue.
Yes.
Yeah, people were very bored with it.
Yeah, but I speak under correction. I'm bad with that.
Yeah, but it's in the last 5-6 years. Yeah.
So it was a really great collection that I think really brought the message across, and now every season we try and do something like that. But I don't go and kind of find things. It needs to be something that is happening in my life and infecting my life at the moment, and that is how these inspirations happen. With the HIV collection, I had a staff member that came to me and said she's positive, and we had to then educate myself on how work happens now, and how do we protect everybody from it, and now we know. So I educated myself on that, and I educated all my staff on that, and I think she, without making it about her, I think she felt good that she could now had a part in educating the whole company about HIV.
So it's personal.
It's personal. So it's personal things like that, like the water crisis, like all these things that happens in the world that you can't change everything, but you can help to change some things. I had a great partnership with Shout for a Safer South Africa, where we created a collection that simulated armor for protection, and we dedicate the collection to female victims of violence, and just really to highlight those causes, because I feel if you give anything energy, you can help it.
And you say your message is take charge of yourself.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
I think to change something, you first have to change yourself, and really bring it out from a good, positive feeling place. I think if you just do something for publicity, it would have never become as big as it did. If you do something for the right reasons, and people can see it's the right reason, everybody wants to be a part of it.
What's next?
What's next for me? We're currently working on our new collection for SA Fashion Week. That's very exciting. We're doing it so different this year. It's going to be very interesting. I'm going into a big South African retailer. That's very exciting. I've always wanted to be in their stores, so that's going to be great. And we're just really pushing the envelope of fashion. I'm about to leave for New York. I'm very excited to be invited by Vogue calls him the best pattern maker in the world go and learn from him for a few weeks. So I think that's going to be exciting, and I can't wait to bring that knowledge back to South Africa and shows the rest of the world what we can do.
How did that happen, that you got in there? It sounds fantastic.
It's a major hookup. I'm the biggest fan of the director of SA Fashion Week, Lucilla Boysons, and she is absolutely the mother of fashion in this country, and it was a big hookup, but it happened.
She was the dating agency.
She was the dating agency, so I'm very grateful for her for doing that.
And talking about the dating agency, moving on to your personal life, where did you and Vicky meet, and when did you know that he was the one?
Well, I met Vicky 12 years ago in Klerksdorp when I studied there, and I remember I met him and we moved in the next day, and we've been together for 12 years and we've been married for 3, and it was the first public gay marriage in South Africa, so that had its own interesting things, but I'm happy to have done it that way, because now you see more and more people coming out and doing it so publicly. So life is great. We are renovating our home, and we've been renovating it for the last 2 years. So that's kind of what's been keeping us busy since the wedding. But if I can give anybody advice, don't plan a wedding and then start renovating all at once, because that was our whole wedding. So it was amazing. No, we're really lucky. And that's also the important thing, is like having that support structure. Because Vicky has been there since day one because we met when I was a first year studying, and we've been together through this whole process and pushing and developing.
You're also business partners, aren't you?
Yes, we're also business partners. So I think that is, if it wasn't for Vicky, many of this wouldn't be possible, because when the one can't anymore, the other one can. So it's like a marriage as well. Like everybody there's always somebody at some points that's kind of leading, and you kind of take turns to do that. So it's great.
So what makes the relationship work?
I think listening to each other, having respect for each other, and relationships are hard. You have to work at them every day. It's not an easy thing. It is a job that you have to really every day make sure that you're taking. It's not like a job. It's more like a plant that you have to water every day. So I think that is the key of a relationship, and really making sure that you spend time with each other. And my best relationship advice that I can't remember even from where I got it is that people tend to give the best versions of themselves to strangers, where our promise to each other is that our best versions of each other we're giving to each other when we have that moment. So sometimes when I'm quiet, guys, I'm just saving myself.
Why did you decide to take the step to get married?
Marriage is great. I don't know. We always wanted to get married. I think also because if you're together for so long and you've really committed to that level, you really want to make it forever public and celebrate it. So that was the main reason, and was a time where gay marriage was just legalized, and then we got engaged, and we thought, let's do this because now we can, and I think the more energy, like I said, the more energy you give something, the more people will do it. So, and the more normal it will become, and why we wanted it so public is to show that it's normal. I think people sometimes have the perception of what gay marriage is. But we're great to have broken that perception and show that it's normal. My mom's normal, my dad's normal, his parents are quite normal. We live in a normal house, we've got cats and dogs, and it's fine. Nobody wears dresses.
And how did you plan the ceremony? Because there's no template. You don't have to follow any pattern.
That was the funniest thing, especially the television show that was covering the wedding, because they're known for covering weddings, and they kind of know, okay, now it's the first dance, now it's the first kiss, but nobody knew. So we kind of just winged it. It was, we knew what we didn't want to do, and we didn't want any awkward moments, and that was the brief to everybody, and we kind of just created a big party, and it was so lovely because our 5 best friends was there, and each of them gave us a wish, and that was how we got married then. It was the ceremony, and it was so beautiful, and we had all our friends and family there, and it was over a weekend, so it was quite stunning.
And your mum walked you down the aisle.
Yes.
Talk to me about her, about that decision.
So we thought our mom should walk us down the aisle. I think my mom is really, still today, she's so supportive. And she's such a special part in our lives that I really wish that everybody in their lives could have an experience like I've had growing up. And Vicky's mom is just such a wonderful, fun person. And ironically, Vicky's mom and my mom is best friends now. Over this 12 years, they've really matured into this friendship where they're constantly texting each other and talking on the phone, and they know more what's happening in our lives than we tell them. So I don't know where they find that out. But I think a mother's love is something that you can't describe, and I think especially for a man, you're very much closer to your mother normally, and it was great honor for her to walk me down, for Vicky's mom to walk him down, and we wanted to have that sort of the tradition. But the rest of the wedding was not traditional at all.
What about your relationship with your dad?
My dad is great. I think my whole family is like little cheerleaders. Like, go gay brother, go. So that it's pretty much like that. My dad's amazing. I think initially I came out that I was gay at a very young age. So I think that initially was a shock, but it was never like the horror stories that you hear from other people. It was quite managed well, and I think now many people ask my parents for advice. I think when I've heard in our little town when there's issues like this, my mom and dad has been leading some advice, and I think it's just they're very accepting and very supportive and very proud. I think my dad's always been so proud, and he is so funny and lovable, and I'm very, very lucky with parents, and even Vicky. I think that's also because our parents had such a great relationship for us. I think that's also why we have such a strong relationship.
Yeah, and the example of a marriage that lasts.
Yeah. No, that's very true. To show how things get dealt with as well, because if you're young, especially when you're young and you don't know how to handle emotions, it's difficult, and it's nice to have a parent there, to a frame of reference that you can go back on, and even when we have kids, I think I see now more how my mom reacts to things that I tell her. I'm kind of like checking it in my brain to remember to do that with my children, because it's like such that she's hitting all the right notes with me. So I think my parents are great, and I'm so blessed that they are so supportive of me.
Sure, I hope my boy says that about me. This home that you're renovating, what made you choose it, or how did you buy it in the first place?
Wow, so we bought it about 4 years ago, just before we got married. We bought it together, and then
What sold it to you?
What sold it to us? It was
trees,
big.
light.
No, Vicky wants big. Vicky is nature, and I'm not so much nature, but Vicky loves nature, and he wants his hippie corner, and he's so exactly the opposite of me, that I'm all like suits and ties, and he's all like palazzo pants and t-shirts. And he wanted big open spaces. We looked at property, and the biggest property we could find close to everything was in London, and it's quite big, and lots of trees and lots of rooms, and the first thing that we got, that when we started renovating this, we made a 7-bedroom house into a 2-bedroom house. So now we've got all these open spaces. It's lovely, and renovating together, I think doing a project together as a couple is also like a bit of a relationship builder, because
or breaker,
but making all those decisions together has been fun. We bought the house from this old Belgian guy that spoke Flemish. Or is it Flemish from Belgium? And it almost sounds like Afrikaans. And he would just tell us all the stories from Belgium, and he had such great furniture because he was retiring that we could buy off him. And he just told us the story, like how we had to like pull it through the mud to get it onto the ship to bring it to South Africa. And he just had so many stories. So all our furniture has these great stories that we bought from this guy. And we really have some great antiques, and that's just lovely.
And is there something that you take with you that maybe even as a teenager you took with you when you moved? A picture, whatever?
You know, Vicky is quite a sentimental person. So he has many things, childhood toys that I frame for him as gifts and things like that. But I have this. I travel like I have this little bag from my grandmother that is like this little metal bag, and that's about it. The rest of the stuff we all like accumulated in Joburg, because when we started here we got a flat in Rosebank, and we couldn't understand why it was so expensive, and now I'm like, because it's Rosebank. And that's why we got this little flat in Rosebank, and we got like little hand-me-downs from our parents, and garden furniture, and also having our taste. We didn't want too much of hand-me-downs, but we thought we'll rather go without until we can buy our own. So the first year or so in Joburg was pretty much garden furniture, television on the floor, and then built it up for that. I remember when Gert Johan Coetzee got quite big, and we were working from home, and we ran out of space, we even had to like change our bedroom. into like storage space. So our bed was like a 3/4 bed that we slept on for maybe a year until now we have the big house. But yeah, that is part of growing up, right?
Thank you so much. This was absolutely delightful, and all of the very, very best.
Thank you so much for such a great interview, and we hope we can inspire change.
Absolutely. Until next time, go well.